a lesson called, well, it's basically called the Ant and Water Drop. I taught it as part of a personal essay unit. This is just one part of it. Before this, we read professional personal essays like David Starris and others, and they analyzed them for the structure and the language and the imagery and all that. Do you need more background on that? Or?
What age was it?
Oh, it was high school, 10th through 12th, and basically it was kind of a class for people who didn't, and some of them wanted to write. It was a creative writing class, and some of them were reluctant readers and writers who needed English credit. So this was a lesson that went pretty well, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. And basically the goal of it was to help them identify and then write about personal topics, not super personal, but a personal essay, and then they could share it or they could not. Basically, it was about just applying writing techniques and as I said, identifying something to write about from your past. Before we set out on this part of it, we reviewed the elements of essays and what they needed to include in order for it to be a good essay. This, unfortunately, a big part of this lesson is reading aloud to you. So this is the main gist of the lesson, and it's from the And the Water Drop, Locating the Mystery Within Memory, and I also read this to them too. So before we do that though, you might take a couple minutes to think about some event that happened in your life that you might want to write a brief essay about, and just jot it down. Just an episode, something that leads to mind. Something, or you don't have to have one right now, just be thinking about it. So this is an article written by Philip Grant. He's an anthropologist, and it starts: the memories we have of our lives are not a continuous narrative. Instead, they're more akin to several arcs of a skipping stone, 3, 4, 5, 6 flashes and onward. Flash nonfiction. We had also talked about flash nonfiction. This was not a flash assignment, but we had discussed it earlier, and it was a part of the unit. So, flash nonfiction is in many ways an ideal form to capture the world of those flashes of memory, fueled by the energy of the previous arc's path descending into the water, as well as, at the end of the brief essay, the energy urging up to the curve of another arc. In this way of thinking, a flash nonfiction piece doesn't have a beginning so much as an entry, so much as a point of entry and a point of departure rather than an ending. In much the same way, poetry employs negative space, a flash nonfiction piece can imply and silently give shape. As the days, months, and years pass, we suffer a reversal of those ancient, self-developing Polaroid pictures in our memories. Our memories start out clear and fade into ghostly wisps. How is it possible to adequately recall the technicolor details? Memories don't have to be exact in every detail to contain an emotional truth. The trick is to recapture the details that point to those truths. So that is something I really want you to focus on, capturing the details that point to truths rather than the actual detail itself. Intensity is more essential in flash fiction, where brevity must be balanced by the gripping necessity to speak. Memories can also lay dormant, waiting for when you're finally able to remember. This is okay. One summer residency, blah, blah, blah. I sat in an audience while my colleague presented her lecture on flash nonfiction. She included a writing exercise asking us to write about something we'd never written about before. After a few initial scribbles, I was 9 years old again. In 1960, back in the kitchen of my parents' home, on what must have been a Saturday morning, trying to eat my cereal at the circular breakfast table while listening to my mother and father's latest verbal Donnybrook. They argued constantly. The last time I ever spoke with my father by phone, he was balancing our conversation with a dispute he was conducting with my mother in the background. But of all those arguments, I can't remember a detailed exchange, just the white static of anger. Except for this argument. I kept my head down as they went at it. But then my father said something that caught my attention. You know, Edie, he said, I never loved you. This did not get the reaction I think my father was expecting, or perhaps hoping for. My mother did not break down at his words, but instead replied in a calm, cool tone, well, I never loved you either, Bill. At this, my father left the kitchen, but he returned in seconds, livid, shouting, don't ever say that again, while my mother faced him unmoved and began laughing. I have no doubt that I heard those exact words, even if I didn't realize their true import beyond the heady fear that my parents' marriage had entered dangerous new territory. Yet that angry exchange must have taught me who loved whom more, who loved less, and who had the most power because of that. Loving more was a dangerous weakness that could open up to humiliation. But I also learned that loving was no less dangerous than that it could turn you cold and vindictive. How strange my mind had known the few words I'd need to remember in order to one day comprehend their long-term effect on me. How I wish I'd looked more closely far sooner. This is what the intensity of writing flashback fiction or flash nonfiction can offer, a vivid rather than a casual remembrance. Memories aren't merely simple events easily recalled. The skipping stone of memory lands on a particular place on the lake for a reason, and then ricochets off in a different direction for another reason. And the mystery of those invisible arcs are embedded in the details of the memory left behind. Okay, so, now we get to the ant in the water droplet. I recently came upon is this okay? Is everybody following this? Mm-hmm. Is it, all right. I recently came upon an arresting image taken by Adam Gorley, an Australian photographer. Can you see it? He'd been photographing spider webs when a rainstorm hit, and in the aftermath, he captured an image of an ant trapped within a 3-millimeter drop of rain, whose surface tension maintained the shape of the sphere. Floating in the middle of that transparent pearl, the reddish-brown body of the ant punches, its many legs dangling toward the bottom of the raindrop's curve. Bromley at first thought there was a piece of dirt in the droplet. Only when he looked closer did he see the ant. I shouted out in excitement when I realized what I'd captured by accident. Why we remember something is not always immediately obvious. Within certain memories lies something hidden, the equivalent of a floating ant. The question is how to find it. So, this is the gist of writing a personal essay. And when I was discussing it with my kids, the class, one of the topics that I thought about writing in this, what I would write about, would be an incident when my brother and I were little, and we were in the backseat of my mom's car. And this would have been in the early 70s. anything. But I remember it so distinctly because she had this giant car, and it had one of those back seats that's just a bench, you know, and we were just hopping around in the back. But anyways, we were driving around downtown, and we were stopped at a stoplight, and this old woman jumped in the front seat with my mom and told her to take her somewhere. And it was the most bizarre experience. So I was gonna write about that in a kind of semi-comic sort of way. But then I got to thinking about it, and the interesting thing about that story is not that that happened, as weird as it was, as surreal as it was. It was more the way my mom handled the situation. Because she didn't flip out, she didn't even act, you know, slightly annoyed or weirded out or anything. She just very calmly took this lady where she wanted to go, and didn't even register with us that she thought it was weird, you know, because she wanted to keep us calm, and this bizarre bag lady jumped in the car. So that is the ant in that water drop story. So when you think about something you want to write about, you know, you may come to the surface details, but then when you really think about the meaning of it, then you can find the true interesting aspect of the story. So if you want to take a few minutes to write your piece of flash nonfiction personal narrative, have it. Unless somebody had a question.
So are we just reading our memory now? Are we looking for the ant yet?
Well, the original thing before we started, when I asked you to write down a memory, you can work with that one. You know, I know that it was before we were really talking about the meaning of the story, so maybe there isn't an ant in that water drop, but there probably is if you look at it. So you can use that one, or you can, maybe another one popped into your mind